All right. RFM, here we are. Another Mormonism After Dark.
Good evening, Mr. Reel. Happy Friday to you.
Life is good. I hope you had a great week.
I've had an incredible week. These weeks fly by so fast from live podcast to live podcast. And once again, we're at Friday.
We fill our week up. We're doing 3 shows together. You're doing Radio Free Mormon on most Saturdays. I've got a few things that come out from time to time that take a little bit of work during the week to put together over sort of a longer period of time. But we're both working a bunch. Would you have it any other way?
No, actually, I wouldn't.
Would you or wouldn't? I mean, there is some truth to if you could just sit on a beach chair next to some water, brushing up on shore with a stiff drink in your hand or a margarita or something.
My definition of hell.
Yeah, well, you got to stay busy, don't you?
I think I got it from my dad. At least I came by it honestly.
Yeah.
My dad used to say that what he wanted engraved on his tombstone was he would say, "Here lies," and then his first name and his last name, right? "Here lies so-and-so, retired yesterday."
Yeah. Work until the last day. The brethren get to do that. Those 15 guys get to work until their death. And the apologists go, "Oh, don't you think they want to be home being grandpa and spending time with their wife and doing this?" No, I mean, most of us want to feel some degree of being productive. And if we're given too much free time on our hands, it ends up not being good for us. Anyway, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I appreciate doing this stuff with you as my cohort. And we have a lot of fun doing it. How was your week? Tell me about the things going on in your world.
Well, I'll tell you. Wendy says RFM can barely handle a week-long vacation, Bill.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, but only if I can manage to get work into it. That's just what I love.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's what keeps me going.
Well, I love it.
So you're asking about my week. Yeah. So
Monday
on the newscast, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got the great story about when I say that we have sort of meetings, informal meetings by text group thread, really is all it is, with Bill, me, and Rebecca. And it's the same thread where Rebecca finds all these great stories and puts them on the thread so we know about them. And I find crappy stories and put them on the same thread so everybody knows about them. Those are the ones we don't usually use, or the ones I pick out. So we have this thing where, somebody's in charge, right? But regardless of who's in charge, and that will rotate from week to week. And we always have trouble remembering right before the show. We're always saying, who's in charge? Who's in charge tonight? Hoping, I think, that it's not they. I hope it's not me. Technically, I'm sorry, Mom. Okay. I hope it is not I. A to-be verb never, ever takes an object. Okay. You beat it out of me, Bill. You beat it out of me.
Technically, do you hope it is you?
Do I hope it is me? Is I what? For what?
That is in charge of being the person who sort of orchestrates the newscast.
Yeah, it is so informal. It really is. It almost writes itself because it is the news. And we generally have a pretty unified vision on what it is that's important. And it's not like there's one person who's really assigning the stories necessarily. It's just sort of, okay, what story do you want? What story do you want to take? And everybody is overly kind and considerate. It's never like, no, I wanted that story. It's always, oh, you can have that story.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, last Monday, I got the story. That was the big story, and I still think it's a big story about the revelation, the 1886 John Taylor revelation about polygamy. No, it's not going to stop. You Mormons are going to be practicing that until the day you die, or until 4 years from now, whichever comes first.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
That's what the revelation said.
Yeah.
There's a little, you got to read the small print.
Yeah, it's in there. I'll just say, too, the Salt Lake Tribune, I mean, I know that a member of our newscast reached out to the journalistic venues, and one of them picked up the story and ran with it. And essentially, the premise of their story was the church acknowledges the 1886 revelation when in the past they said that it didn't exist. But then and then part of the Tribune's coverage of it was that they released it and didn't didn't talk about it, didn't give the context, the church doesn't step forward and say, hey, we told you XYZ. Here's
Mhm.
why. Let me say it differently. In any healthy relationship, RFM, whether it's with a romantic partner and a friendship, a coworker, all healthy relationships involve a level of vulnerability and trust. And your job, if you're going to treat me as a respectful human being in a connected relationship with you, you have to give me enough information that I can make solid choices about things. And when something goes awry, and it always does, none of us are perfect. When it goes awry, uh, you, if you're the one who caused it to go awry, you have to inform the other person about why it went awry and what you were thinking and why it happened the way it did. The LDS church, it's the most toxic of relationships. The LDS church, if it was a romantic relationship, it's always gaslighting you. It's always giving you partial truths. It's always withholding the full story of information. And so you're constantly uh, on shaky ground, not knowing how to make sense of the world around you. And Mormons are born and raised in this thing to justify it and to make excuses for it, just like just like the abused person in an unhealthy relationship makes excuses for the spouse, or the friend, or the parent. When you look at Mormonism as a relationship, it really is a dysfunctional partner. Anyway, there's a little rant.
Yeah, well, I will tell you that I didn't watch. Sometimes a lot of things come up in my feed and I scroll past them. So when I say I watched, I meant I saw a thumbnail as it glided by of Jasmine Rappley. You know Jasmine Rappley?
Yes, Neil Rapley's wife. Yes.
Right. A Mormon apologist.
Mhm.
And so she has this little thing. And I never stop and actually watch her talk because I'm afraid I might fall in. But the title of the video was, "Why did the church hide the 1886 revelation?" So obviously it came out, recently. And I thought, "Oh my gosh. Okay, you have accepted the problem. The problem is that the church hid this revelation
Yeah.
after saying they didn't have it, and then
Yeah.
the next month it came into their possession. We're talking about 1933, June and July respectively, those months. And then they never corrected the record and they just sat on it. But when you're an apologist and the evidence is so overwhelming that the church hid it, now you're back to the point of you have to make excuses for deceptive conduct.
Yeah.
That's what the apologists now have to do. They're not in the business of explaining why what the church says or does is not deceptive. They're explaining why it's okay that it was deceptive.
Yeah. Isn't that kind of a really gross position that, like, if we go back again, you're the 80s, I'm the 90s, but in the 90s, even the early 2000s, yes. I mean, I would look to apologists to tell me why it's not a problem, even though I'm starting to see that it's a problem. And they would go to great lengths to go, you're just misunderstanding Brigham Young, you're just misunderstanding Joseph Smith. They didn't do something wrong. It's the critic who twists it and takes a sentence out of context. And now that's not what they do. Now their job is to go, you're right. They messed up, but it's 1,000 mess ups, but each mess up, it was the right thing to do. Even though it wasn't. And it's such a strange position, isn't it?
Mhm. Yes, when the apologists are making excuses for bad conduct on behalf of church leaders, I would say that qualifies as, I don't know, maybe one of the first signs of apostasy,
Yeah.
maybe the second, I don't know. It could be.
We never there's a moment in time where I'm a believing Latter-day Saint and I'm in the church, I'm doing the Mormon thing. I understand some of the issues. I've got the workarounds for them and they're working for me, at least to some extent. And I sort of know what it means to have been an intelligent thinking Mormon at that moment. someone who's reading the books and listening to podcasts and understands what the issues are that are most prevalently being talked about. But I don't know about now. Like, it's a whole different moment. I've been out of the church a while. You've been out of the church longer than me. I no longer can quite grasp how the informed Latter-day Saint is navigating it, because we navigated at a moment where the mess in its totality still wasn't in our faces. It was learn these things issue by issue, one at a time, here a little, there a little. And now it's like, if you go down the rabbit hole, it's like, boom, all of it right in front of you. And there are so many people in the religion who seem able to just justify it, make an excuse for all of it, and continue to believe. And it makes no sense to me.
Here's the other reason that this is so big, okay? It didn't strike me this way because of certain reasons that will become obvious as I reveal. Okay? The reason this is so big is because once again, in real time, it shows that the church is hiding stuff from the members. They're still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Every time this happens, the apologists will wait for a little while to go by and another news cycle or two to go by. And pretty soon they're saying, no, the church doesn't hide anything. The last thing that they hid was, back in 2025, and it was this 1886 revelation, but they don't hide it anymore. We've been seeing this over and over and over again. And after all the protestations, by the way, Bill, do you have the sound clip from our favorite elder and apostle, Elder Ballard, where he swore that the church never hides anything from anybody? Meanwhile, they've got this original 1886 revelation saying polygamy will never die in the handwriting of John Taylor that they are sitting on. And he knows it. He knows it. And Dallin Oaks is right there with him, and he knows it too.
You mean
they
this
were lying to you when they said it.
You mean this one?
This idea that the church is hiding something, which we would have to say as two apostles who have covered the world and know the history of the church and know the integrity of the first presidency in the Quorum of the 12 from the beginning of time. There has been no attempt on the part in any way of the church leaders trying to hide anything from anybody.
I gotta say,
and then he goes on and says, we wouldn't do that. That's not that's Jesus wouldn't do that, and we're as honest as we know, transparent as we know how to be, right?
Transparent as we know how to
be. Oh my
be.
gosh. It's hard not to look at that and say, I think he's fibbing a wee bit.
I think Elder Ballard and the two of us know the integrity of the leaders all the way back pretty well at this point.
That's the irony, isn't it? It's the beautiful irony while he's standing up for the integrity as he's telling a falsehood in the midst of it. He's actually telling you exactly what their integrity is worth.
Yeah. If you read between the lines, and in this instance, you don't even have to read between the lines. The information and the apologists defending it are communicating to you clearly that these leaders lie over and over and over again. And just because they say they don't lie doesn't make it true. I don't know. Anyway, well, this 1886 revelation, John Taylor, it's the big news. They're talking about it everywhere.
Yes, even Jasmine Rappley, as I recall.
Yeah. And she's defending, she's explaining to you why they hid it.
That's the title of the video. I would presume that she gave it the title and that she's going to answer that question of why the church hid this. The church has also had to try and its apologists have had to try and deal with the issue of why it is that Joseph Fielding Smith hid the 1832 account of Joseph Smith's first vision, where he mentions one person appearing to him.
Yeah. They've hid things in the past. They're hiding things that are just now being released. they've got things that are still hidden. The William Clayton diaries have been said by church leadership that they will release them, and they gave a timeline, said it would be in a short time, a year or two. And then now we're years later and it hasn't been released yet. It really is difficult. Let me say this. One of the reasons you can justify, not really, but this is what they would say. And again, I don't know what Jasmine says, but the 1886 vision by John Taylor was denied. That wasn't truthful. It was denied by church leadership because the fundamentalists would use it as strength of their argument and would draw lots of people away from the true church, the LDS church. Right?
See, now they're not only right, their main rival, Doc Ock to their Spider-Man, has been shown to be lying about it, which makes them triply right.
Yeah. But when you acknowledge that you are willing to lie and deceive your members because having more information would draw them away from your system into somebody else's. If I'm a believer, what I hear in that message is you would lie to me to do anything. To keep things the way they are. You don't want to deal with what a mature, again, I'll say it, relationship requires, which is a degree of honesty both directions so that I can make informed decisions about how I'll live my life. And if I leave Mormonism because I had the truth, and even if Mormonism was true, but I had these pieces of information that were true, and by you letting me have them, I leave the church, your moral obligation is to give me the data and let me be responsible for how I interpret and make life decisions based on that data. And if you acknowledge up front that you will hide things from me to keep me here, then how could I ever know you're not hiding things that show that this church isn't true?
Reminds me of an old saying I learned down in Texas. If you love something, let it go. If it was meant to be, it will return to you. If it does not return to you, hunt it down and kill it.
From the great state of Texas.
Wahoo!
Yeah. Well, I wanted to put up on the screen here, just show our thumbnail. You're going to wonder what that thing is in between you and me right over my shoulder.
An ugly dog, right?
It is. Today is National Ugly Dog Day. So there's that.
Okay. Go ahead. Yuck it up in the live chat with the completely expected jokes about which is which.
I'll just note to folks, the number is up on the screen, 662-667-6667. And then I will put the StreamYard link into the live chat. It's also in the YouTube description for this video. So if you're watching this on YouTube, which you obviously have to be, if you're watching it live, if you just go down below the video, open up the video description, it will have both the phone number and the URL link there, as well as the StreamYard link and the phone number are posted or pinned in the live chat at the top of the comments. So you can get those there as well. And so there's the link to jump into the studio. What else do you want to say about things maybe we've got in the slideshow before we jump into callers? And we've got one person in studio already. So
yeah, I was just thinking if we went to Pearl, that'd be great.
Great. I'll bring Pearl up.
She's been here since the show started.
Yes, she has.
Hi,
Pearl?
guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Hi, Pearl.
I'm good.
Excellent.
I was watching RFM's panel with the women on the Truth and Light letter.
Mormon Women Speak.
Yes, Mormon Women Speak. And the thing that really resonated with me is, even though I am not a Mormon, and I'm pretty sure the song is more of a Mormon song, but it's Come, Come, All Ye Saints. I love that song. That song just stops me.
Well, we have Come, Come, Ye Saints. How does yours
yes.
go? Could you hum it a bit? Maybe give us a couple bars.
It's the one that John Dehlin uses for Mormon stories.
Come, come, ye saints, no
Yes.
toil nor labor fear.
Yes.
That one?
That one. That
Yeah.
is the one that stops me every time.
It's a good song.
So is it strictly a Mormon song?
As far as I know, because it is about the saints, the Mormon saints heading west to Utah.
Wasn't that
We'll
written?
find the place that God for us prepared far away in the west.
Wasn't that the song that William Clayton wrote?
It
Talk
might
about
be in the
it.
Gap Journal. I'm not sure.
I'm thinking that "Come Ye Saints," the lyrics, let me look it up, was written by William Clayton. Speaking of the journal, by the way, LDS Church, just release it. Give people all the information. Let them look at all sides. Let them make a decision, having all the information in front of them. And that way you are supporting people in their autonomy and their ability to make the best choices they decide for themselves, instead of you controlling them by hiding things until it's way past the moment where it should have been released. That's so not right. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, just I really liked that song. So that part of the women's panel really resonated with me.
Vocalese is telling us it's based on an early English folk tune titled All Is Well. It was adapted by the church and obviously new lyrics put in there. My understanding is that, like in 1835, wasn't it when Emma publishes the first LDS songbook, right? Whenever it was. It didn't have any music in it. It just had words, because there were words and there were music, and there were different tunes that you could apply to different words. And so you would sing a certain set of words to a certain tune, and the tunes would all have names themselves. Just to make it like Greensleeves is a classic example. That's the name of a tune. I think Henry VIII wrote it. But anyway, so all I'm saying is that it's a beautiful song, and it swells, and the choir, whatever they call themselves now. They used to call themselves the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, Pearl. Now it's I think it's the Jim Bennett Memorial Choir
On Temple Square.
on Temple Square. Yeah, it's a great song.
Yes, very good song.
Are there other LDS hymns that you like?
No, that was the only one, because there are traditional, church hymns or gospel music I like. I like Elvis's gospel music. So I listen to them, but that is like the most specific one that I just stop dead in my tracks when I hear it. And so that's like one of the reasons I love John DeLynn watching Mormon Stories, is because I love that song. Well, he's a good podcaster too, don't get me wrong.
I feel like we own that song now. I feel like the Mormons pretty much own that song.
Yes, I believe it. Well, I mean, y'all own everything, so why not?
I mean, there's certain songs that certain artists kind of own.
Yeah.
Nat King Cole in the Christmas song, or maybe Route 66, and Frank Sinatra in New York, etc.
Yes.
I think we own that song now.
I think you hit on something there, Pearl, which is the LDS Church's number one priority seems to be collecting as many things as they can. And whatever means justifies that ends is, in fact, necessary.
Yes.
Anything else on your mind tonight, Pearl?
Well, and another really off the wall question that has nothing to do with Mormonism at all whatsoever was knowing that RFM is a lawyer. And so I've been doing homework, and we've been talking about substance and addictions and stuff like that. And so my weird brain wanted to know, when you were in front of the judge doing your court cases, have you ever had any defendants specifically take it to the box thinking the 13.5 is going to work out for them?
I'm sorry. I think you Damon Runyoned me into oblivion.
Okay.
I didn't get the slang.
Okay, so when you were in front of the judge.
That part I was following you.
Okay.
All of a sudden, it was like the last 20 minutes of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay, so you had your defendants that specifically wanted a jury trial, because they thought they could get either a better deal taking it one judge, 12 people, and half a chance.
Oh, sure.
So, I mean, did you have any of them that actually had to go their way better taking it to trial?
Well, that you can't tell. I mean, that's the alternate universe. You have to It's the road with the parting in the wood, right?
Right.
Okay, I thought that was some kind of a beast at first, but then it sounded more like a motorized thing going down the highway.
Oh, I have my cat over here, and then I live by the highway, so you hear the cars going back and forth.
Okay, got it. Thank you. So anyway, what was it? I can't even remember what I was saying. It wasn't important.
Oh, well, it was just the fact that's the alternate universe of that's
Right.
the chance
You
you're
can't know
gonna
if it would have
take.
worked out better. All you know
Yeah.
is when you choose, and you should always default to having a jury trial.
Right.
Common wisdom. It would be an exceptional case where you waived a jury, and usually only because you know that damaging information is going to come in against your client in evidence that's going to prejudice the jury, and you've made motions that they can't hear it, they can't see it, and the judge has ruled against you.
Mhm.
So the idea being in a really unusual case like that, to try it to the judge who is much more used to seeing this kind of thing and able to be more clinical in his approach and less hopefully persuaded by passion.
Okay. It's just 9 times out of 10, like I have seen in my own personal life, that, the people have took it to the box, and the defendants, go up there in the chair, and it never goes the way that they want it to. So it's like they've basically screwed themselves in the end, because they thought they could get a better deal, like not taking the plea deal and just going all the way.
Well, that is always what it comes down to. And I can't tell you how many clients I have told in exactly those same circumstances that it's going to be like, we're going to get to the point. Here's what happens. We're going to continue it a number of times. If there's legal issues, we'll have hearings on them. And then we're going to get to a point where after everything's done and we've done all the investigation, we've done all the motions and everything, that we're going to have the rock bottom deal from the prosecutor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you're going to be faced with the decision. It's like,
Right.
I always ask, you ever seen Let's Make a Deal? And not that
Right.
many people have seen it anymore. It used to
Yeah.
be a lot more people had seen it for some reason.
Well,
But anyway, so I explain it to them, right? And eventually you're going to be the contestant who's there with Monty Hall saying, I've got $50 for you, and you can either take the money or you can take what's behind the box down there on the stage where Carol Merrill is standing.
mm-hmm.
And the $5 is the deal.
Right.
And the box is what's going to happen to you at the end of the trial.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. So yeah.
But I always try and prepare people for that at the outset before that comes, so that they understand this is going to happen. This time will come, because it's very stressful, obviously, having to make that decision. In some cases, more stressful than others.
Right. So my curiosity brain just wanted to know, have you ever seen better deals go that way, or better outcomes?
Well, yeah, acquittal.
Well, true. Acquittal. But I mean,
acquittal
I would-
will always beat any deal the prosecutor's willing to make.
right. I guess
Unless the
depending on
prosecutor's willing to dismiss it, and I don't know if that's a deal, but certainly
right.
gratefully accepted.
I guess if it was me, I would just take the plea and get it over with.
Well, every case is so case specific, I must say.
Right.
I must say, there was one case, so it was a drug case, had to do with a town over here, which I'm not going to mention the name of, or the client whose name I can't recall, but it had to do with drugs in a house and a search warrant. And the case depended on a search warrant. My client, who was in custody because of priors, and there was a lot of drugs here, and he couldn't make bail. So, but he's in custody, and I have got one hell of a motion that I have filed challenging whether there was sufficient probable cause to support the search warrant, because there wasn't. I mean, this was a really, really good motion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, I've lost motions that I thought were really good. I've lost motions that I thought were dead bang winners. And I've also won motions that I thought were dead bang losers.
Right.
So usually have kind of an idea, but there are outliers on either end of that bell curve.
Yeah.
So went to the prosecutor, and I've known her for a long time, and she's a pistol. But I talked to her about this, and I said, okay, well, here is the deal we want, and if we get the deal, then we will just take it. We won't pursue the motion. And for whatever reason, she was not willing to give us the deal we wanted, which I didn't think was an unreasonable deal. But she would not go there. So we went ahead with the motion, and we won the motion. And the judge granted the motion to suppress, granted the motion to dismiss, and granted the motion to release my client from jail. So that was better than what the prosecutor was willing to do.
Right.
But these are all much clearer in hindsight.
Right. I understand. Well, you gentlemen, you have a good night. I just thought I'd call and say
Thank
hi.
you,
I haven't
Pearl.
been on a while.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good to hear
You're
from
welcome.
you.
Have a great
Yeah,
night.
y'all have a good night.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I don't think it's fair, RFM, that in the case of law, let's say you're arrested, you're charged, you're about to go to trial, you can plea bargain with the city prosecutor, and they come up with a deal. You agree to it. You're admitting some degree of guilt. You've taken a lesser charge. You've got a lesser sentence, and behind the scenes, everything's been worked out. And then you can go before the judge, who can essentially say your plea bargain, like what you said there, we're not going to go with that. We're not going to go with what that guy did. We're gonna essentially penalize you further than what that is. And maybe it has to go to trial at that point. But the judge has the ability to, if I'm not mistaken, again, I'm
back at 2001.
in the court system.
Yes.
There are instances where the judge can override.
Can you give me a specific? Because I think it was the generalities I was having trouble with.
No, I don't know. I don't know that. Let me say it this way.
Okay.
Is there not times where the person being charged and the prosecutor, the county, city, whatever, however that works, they come up with an agreed upon decision, and the judge still has overriding ability to not accept?
The judge is not bound by the terms of a plea agreement. Yes, that's correct.
Right. But the plea agreement has already happened. How does that work? So does the charged person then get an opportunity to do something else? Do they automatically go to trial? Do they have to live by the fact that they?
Well, it depends. It depends. And I've seen both happen. Although it's a rarity that it happens, because judges understand, at least most of them do, you can't do that. If there's an agreed decision between the parties, 99 times out of 100, you need to go along with that agreed recommendation. And the reason is because you're dealing with two attorneys, one on each side, who know this case inside and out, and a hell of a lot better than you know it. So they understand what's being bargained for and what's worth what, and they are in opposition to each other, and they say, okay, we can meet here. This is a deal, Judge. We want you to follow the recommendation. Yes, you should follow that recommendation. You know, you can say whatever it is you want to say. You can register whatever abhorrence you feel is appropriate over what happened. But yeah, you should follow that recommendation, because if you do not, you are going to destroy the working of the court system, because you are not going to have people entering guilty pleas if you're going to, send them up the river, regardless of agreed recommendations. And that means that you're going to have a lot more cases going to trial, which means you're going to get absolutely log jammed.
Yeah, and that was my question, is that aren't there instances where the person being charged makes a plea agreement with the prosecutor, stands before the judge, again, in rare instances, can disregard that plea bargain?
Hang on a second though. Here's the thing, okay? And I lost my thought. You brought it back. Thank you. Guilty plea. Guilty plea. When the person enters their plea of guilty, they do not have the right to take it back. Now they are exposed to the judge, and the judge can do whatever the judge wants to. But I have also seen, and I've seen it more frequently, where a judge tells the attorneys as they are getting ready to enter a guilty plea that he is not going to follow that agreed recommendation. So then the guilty plea is not entered into, obviously. And the attorneys have to go back and reconnoiter. That's happened with me. I can remember a specific instance. Unfortunately, I got too good a deal on behalf of my client. At least the judge thought so. But the judge was good enough, and this is a number of years ago, to let me know. I mean, he has to let the prosecutor know. There's a bunch of other people present, but he's saying it for me. He's letting me know that if we enter this guilty plea, he's going to do a lot more to my client than what we've agreed upon. So we went back and we did whatever we needed to do to get in front of a more reasonable judge.
Gotcha. There was an instance when I was a young adult, and
hey, Bill, I want to hear about your young adult incident, but I think there's somebody in Gold LeMay down there. Have you noticed this?
well, we do have somebody down below. Let's bring her in.
Because she's going to bust my chops for another 6 months over, making her weight down there.
It's true. I'm celebrating Ugliest Dog Day with my dog, Alice.
Hi, Alice.
It's been great so far, huh? She doesn't think it applies. I don't know. You guys.
Oh my gosh.
Good.
What a smile that dog has.
She has quite a smile, and she's hot. She's panting. It's not me breathing heavily. It is my dog. Just in case there was any confusion.
Oh my gosh. Celebrating National Ugly Dog Day with Alice.
Yeah, with Alice. That's right.
You can eat anything you want at Alice's restaurant.
That's exactly it.
Well, Rebecca, you joined us this evening. We've got some special announcements to make. What do you want to say about those? I'll put them up on the screen here in just a second.
I kind of wormed my way into Mormonism After Dark because we do have something to announce, all three of us together. And I thought, what better place than, this fabulous Friday night program. So do you want me to say what it is, or do you want to say? Okay,
I put
awesome.
it up on the screen. Please do.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So everybody probably knows, because we've talked about it a lot, that Sunstone is coming up and that Bill and RFM are going to be in Utah, and they are going to have a fantastic meet and greet. I was going to say unhinged. It's not unhinged. It's like unvarnished. It might be unhinged. We don't know. Anyway, they're having that on Saturday night, I believe, right? Of that Sunstone weekend, which is the last weekend in July. So that would be the second of August.
First weekend in August, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Sunstone starts the end of July, and then it goes through that weekend. So
okay. I think the first is a Saturday. No, the first is a Friday, right?
Second
of August. The second is the Saturday.
Yep. That's when you guys are having your unhinged event.
Right.
So not only this event, but we have decided that we always do the newscast together on Monday night, right? I hope a lot of you guys watch this. We have a lot of fun doing it together. And we're like, oh my gosh, we are all going to be in the same location. How often does that happen? Never. So we thought, let's put on a live event. Let's do the newscast live in a venue, and let's have some folks come out and watch us if they'd like to, and, chat, meet and greet, and watch the newscast live. So I think it's going to be really fun. I am excited, nervous because I rarely do live events, but I think it's going to be good. What do you guys think? And this will be that Monday, the 4th, August 4th.
Yeah, we're going to have a live studio audience.
Yep.
I'm really excited. I will say this. So I just put the link out. Here is the comment that shows that. Please come to a live taping of the Mormon newscast, and there's the link for it. This is August 4th, Monday night. As you just said, Rebecca, I would note I might need somebody who understands like the technology side of that, because we do have a thing we need to overcome, which is, one, we need to project sound to the audience.
Correct.
And two is we need to have our equipment, which, by the way, RFM, I will have a roadcaster with me. I will try my best. I'm going to try to have 3 microphones and 3 microphone cords so that I keep the box in front of me, but you both will have a microphone wherever you're sitting.
Cool.
And we'll see how that all plays out sound wise. This will be a little bit of an experiment.
Yeah.
What I think will be the easiest part is projecting sound to the in-studio audience. and we'll be able to ensure that they have a great time. The rest of you, we're going to sort of see if you stay back and watch it on YouTube. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But if there's somebody out there who goes, I could solve that problem like this, you're the person I want. Please reach out to me. Mormon Discussions with an S on the end, podcast with an S on the end at gmail.com. And there might be a free ticket for that person who's willing to make the sound all work throughout the evening.
What if his name sounds like what you do at the end of a diving board?
Jump.
Yeah, jump.
I feel like he could help. I have somebody in mind too that might be able to help. So, but please, yes, reach out to Bill for sure. Now, my main question is, so live studio audience back in the day, and I think even currently when there's a live studio audience, somebody has to warm them up, right? Before the main event. So RFM, will that be you? Will you be coming out?
We'll bring in John DeLand to do that.
You're going to have John DeLand to come. Okay. Do some
He'll
comedy.
be the warm-up act.
Okay. Yeah.
He'll appreciate
Has he agreed to this?
He'll appreciate that. Yeah. He is a good sport.
You're going to ask John DeLand to be the warm-up act for the newscast, huh?
You have to be a good sport to be around me for any period of time.
All right.
Were you suggesting, RFM, the fake Bill Reel? Is that who you were suggesting?
I think that's who we meant.
Fake Bill Reel.
MD.
Yeah. He's very technically savvy. He really is.
Marcus Welby, MD. You remember that show?
I love that show. I was in love with his, who was his second in
James
command?
Brolin.
Yes, yes.
Of course, everybody was. That hair. Oh my God.
Kind of like sweep across one of his eyes, and you'd have to, I didn't pay any attention at all.
And Robert Young.
Yep.
Everybody's favorite Father Knows Best.
Yep. Father Knows Best.
I had no idea about that when I was watching him on Marcus Welby, though.
Oh, you had never seen Father Knows Best?
No.
And that aired long before that.
Yes.
Yeah.
For many years.
Yeah. I watched that before I watched Marcus Welby.
I remember being familiar with Robert Young. And then, of course, on Nightmare Theater, watching these old black and white horror movies. And there's one of them, I think it had to do with Egypt. It wasn't Doctari. No, it had to do with Egypt and maybe a mummy, maybe a cat or a bat and a woman. Anyway, something like that. And he was in it, Marshall Thompson. No, I was thinking Marshall Thompson from Doctari, not Robert Young. But he was in one of them too. And it's just like when it crosses over and I see these people that I see every week, although they're older now, back in these movies, it's like it made them more real and more horrifying. I was worried that the monster would get Marcus Welby.
Marcus Welby. Speaking of the name Marshall, did you ever watch The Land of the Lost when you were a kid? Do you remember
Consuelo.
that? Yeah. They are.
Consuelo.
Was that a yes? I couldn't
Consuelo.
tell you.
Do you remember Consuelo?
Yeah.
The maid.
Consuelo.
It was, of course. Yes.
I'll throw something out here really quick, which is if folks say, hey, you know what? I've got a little extra money. I'd like to sponsor someone else being able to go to these events. We have a donor box campaign set up for that. I'll put the comment up right now so folks can see it. Sponsor a scholarship, help someone attend who otherwise couldn't. Donate to our scholarship fund and make our events accessible to all. So there's the link there if you want to put a little money in the pot. And so I've had 2 people already reach out to me who don't have the means to attend these events. One wants to come to the newscast one wants to come to the other one on Saturday night with RFM. And if folks want to support people being able to do that, that's a great opportunity for you to do so. I've got a question for you guys about Sunstone. I actually have a bet. I'll bet you, and I don't want to make it a big bet. Let's say $10. I bet you $10. The guy whose name sounds like the thing you do at the end of a diving board. I think he'll be at Sunstone. I think he will.
Oh, really?
I think he will.
I don't think so.
But I think he's going to be in disguise. I think he's going to have a hairpiece on. He's going to have a mustache. He's going to have a beard.
I thought he was going to have glasses and a nice, sport coat and a pink shirt.
He might.
Because he's going to be disguised as you. Well,
it wouldn't be the first time. But so what I want when us 3 are at Sunstone, and by the way, all of you out there as well, if you think you see him, take a picture. We'll put some pictures up, maybe in one of our episodes right after that, and we can note let the audience decide, was that the man known as Dives Lazarus, or was that just some rando We'll find out. So take some pictures at Sunstone of people you think might be dives in disguise.
Well,
Yes.
I'm glad you said take a picture, because you first said if you see him, I was concerned about what might come next.
Oh, no. I've never suggested violence or the attacking of one in their personal life.
Exactly.
That's how you tell the difference between the
Yes.
real Bill Reel and the not real.
Exactly. Now he and I
Yeah,
have met
I
in
usually don't
person.
plan violence either. I like to do it spontaneously.
Yeah. So he and I have met in person. We spent time together in person, so I could probably recognize. Maybe we'll see.
I don't
Are
know.
there any identifying features you could tell our audience?
Oh no, he actually was very nice and helped me with StreamYard. Came to my studio and helped me set some stuff up and helped me with StreamYard.
So this must be especially disappointing for you.
This was a while ago. So
I don't think she's going to get involved, RFM. So,
Is
folks,
that gold lame, by the way, that you're wearing?
it is gold lame. Absolutely. Yeah. I was going to wear my fur coat, but it's like 100 degrees here. So I didn't, but I knew I had to dress up to appear on Mormonism After Dark.
you got more gold on than that Angel Moroni behind you.
I feel like I do. You know, he has a pride flag. It's hard to see, but he does. I know I kind of upped my game with my set. I have a sunstone, bookend here. I have the blueberry candle from Heretic, the wonderful movie that we all saw. I have a bust of Brigham Young, and then I have a Moroni holding a pride flag.
That is so cool. You know what I have here? I've got a 1976 Marvel issue medallion Spider-Man. Right there. There's the front where he's crawling up a building, and there is the split halves. One half is Peter Parker, one half is Spider-Man, the face. With great power comes great responsibility.
That's amazing. My only concern for our live event is what if there's no Mormon news that for once, right? I can't imagine that would ever happen.
Well, we're making the news.
And that's true. I actually do make the news, and you guys do too. Like right now, I'm preparing something for the newscast coming up in a few days about the black market of tank top garments, which is absolutely heating up. I'm not kidding.
I think you should get in on the ground floor of that.
I want to. That's what I mean. I'm really trying to figure out how this goes. I've found several different TikToks, and as soon as I post them or make a short about them, then they're taken down. So I don't know who's taking them down, the influencer or, somebody else. But one, and I'll talk about this on the newscast, was selling them for $40 plus shipping. So I think there's money to be made. I wish I could figure this out.
Well, there certainly is, but only for a limited time. You got to make your millions now.
Yep, I think so too. And what's interesting to me also, and I'll talk about this on Monday, is that a lot of people have missed the fact that there are men's tank top garments. So there have been some very funny videos circulating, and I kind of made one today about a new missionary attire where you might wear a white shirt if you're a man that's a cutoff with a tie and a collar, and maybe that would be okay to wear to sacrament meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you can say, young man, I was once in your shoes.
Exactly.
Because that guy in the video with the sunglasses on coming up to the church.
Oh, you do not have to describe the village people to me because, before I knew the scenario, I was in love with the construction worker.
Oh, yeah. Let's go get those construction workers. I wasn't trying to describe the village people to you. I was trying to describe that video to the audience.
Oh, okay. And then say no more.
Let me add a couple of things, which is the Saturday night event. There were 60 tickets total. There are approximately 25 of those that are already sold. So we have about 35 tickets remaining for that. And I don't have any doubts that that's going to sell out. Same with the newscast. There are 50 tickets available for the newscast. And that event is a little less costly to come to as well. So if for whatever reason you were like, hey, I can't go to the first one, it's a little too expensive, the second one might be more appealing to you in that fashion. And we would really love to see you there, but you're going to want to get your tickets. They're going to sell out. We had in the Southern Utah event that RFM and I did, we had several people show up the moment of, when the event was going on who were not part of the thing. And they were like, hey, I brought my sister and she just loves you guys and she wants to, and so we let a few people in, but when it comes to the newscast event, we're not going to be able to do that. This facility has a hard stop at 60 people, AKA Mr. Fire Marshal will not like us.
I always thought that was the dumbest fire code.
And so we will have people at the door making sure that you have a ticket. And so you're going to want to get it. 50 tickets available for that. It's going to sell out. So grab those as soon as you can, so that you can ensure that you get to come to these events, whichever one or both that you want to come to. And it'll be really cool. I'm sure there'll be people that come to both of them, which is always, it makes me proud to know that we do something and connect with people in such a way that they would even go to like two things right back to back with each other. But you watch, you'll see people who do that. So
And somebody's asking again, where is the link? Did you put it in the chat? I wasn't.
I
paying attention
did.
on the
So
site.
I
Okay.
will-
Anywhere else that they can find it on your Facebook page, maybe, or
I think it's in the synopsis for the episode, perhaps, but it is going into the live chat right now. And I will go into the video and just make sure it's in the synopsis. In fact, I'm going to add it right now at the very bottom.
awesome.
And so if folks will just refresh their YouTube, you can go to the very bottom of the synopsis below, right underneath where it says donate to help support Mormonism After Dark. You'll see that those links. You'll see the ones right below it are the ones for the two events.
Fine Girl is asking, do you have to agree to be on camera? My
No.
vision of this was not that it would have any
Yeah.
people in the audience, like Happy Days, after they decided to stop being good, they went in front of a live studio audience and you hear them there, but you don't see them, right?
The
That
laugh
would be my vision for it.
Yeah, the camera will face us and we won't be scanning the audience at any part during the show. So I would think if you show up at that and you want to be anonymous, you should have very little problem doing so.
And we're still trying to figure out ways to engage the audience in ways. So we may have places where we invite. I'm not saying we will, but we might invite people up on the stage. But obviously, you're in control of that.
Who's in control of that?
They are, if they want to come up.
They're in control of that. Yes. All right. Well, I think those are both going to be a ton of fun, and it'll be fun to see. You're going to Sunstone as well, Rebecca.
Oh, of course. Always. Yep. It's good. Can you remind me, are both of you presenting? I was trying to look at the schedule. Are you both presenting?
Yes.
What are your topics? Or
Well,
is
Bill is giving a talk on how great it is to be able to work with Radio Free Mormon.
Oh, well, that's a given. Yeah.
We only
And
gave him 1 hour, and RFM is pissed. He wanted me to have an hour and a half session.
Because I have to give a talk on a much lengthier subject, which is how great it is to be Radio Free Mormon.
Wow.
I'm
great.
I'm
You
going.
haven't known me as long as I've known me.
How could we know all the wonderful things, huh?
That's why I'm writing a book.
It's like an onion. There are so many layers. We just have to keep peeling them back.
Yes. And all the books in the world cannot contain all the wonderful things that Radio Free Mormon hath done.
Friday night, Rebecca, Friday evening, maybe late afternoon. I think it's 4:30 to 5:30. So I have a 1 hour session on Friday night, and I'm going to run through a few things around the Book of Abraham, at least one of them, and maybe what takes up the most time will be some thoughts on the snout of Anubis that I didn't go into when RFM and I had the conversation on Mormonism After Dark about a month ago. And there's some other things that have to do with the Book of Abraham that I think will be interesting. And RFM, you're on Saturday.
Yes, I am. 10:45 in the Anti-Meridian Mountain Time.
Yeah. 10:45 to 12:15.
Is it that long?
It is.
I can't
Are you
remember.
revealing your topic, or is that
It
a
doesn't
surprise?
matter when the cutoff time is. I will exceed it.
You will.
That's my promise to you.
Are you going to tell everyone your topic, or is that a surprise?
No, it's RFM beats the Book of Mormon challenge.
Oh, that'll be fabulous.
I finally did it.
Nice.
Yo, Adrian, I did it.
And I was interested to note that the keynote speaker on Thursday night, if anybody's interested in attending Sunstone, is John Turner, the
I
new
saw that.
Joseph Smith biography. I just saw that. I was really, really excited. They kick off Sunstone with a big lecture, which I think is actually free to the public, on Thursday night, even without attending Sunstone. And that's John Turner. And then it goes on Friday and Saturdays. So really
that's
good.
really
Really
great,
fun.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Oh, and John Turner is not the only person to come out with a book right now. I
That's
just got this book
right.
sent to me gratis by our good friend Ganesh.
Will you hold it a little higher so we can see his name on the book?
Yeah.
Right
I
there.
keep checking my mailbox. Mine is supposed to show up. I can't believe you got yours first.
I think this was yours. Ganesh.
Oh my
thank
God.
you very much, Ganesh. Ganesh Cherian. I'll get my eyeballs out of the camera.
There it is.
And it's Joseph Smith, the Architect of Mormonism, a topical biography. So it's kind of it goes in different topics, like it says. It's a biography of him. So interesting, right? Leave it to Ganesh to take something that's been done over and over and over again, and most recently by John Turner. I understand he's done a wonderful job of it, but to do it in a different way.
Here's
Right?
John Turner's. Yep.
Well, my Joseph Smith can beat up your Joseph Smith. Ganesh's
That's what I
Joseph
feel
Smith
like.
can
We've got
beat
the
up
two.
John's Joseph Smith.
Dun, 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 dun. Yep, it's going to be good. A lot of reading about Joseph Smith. No, Ganesh's is going to be incredible. If you watch his content, this book has kind of just, he's synthesized all of his content he's put out in the last couple of years. It's incredible. It's going to be amazing. And it's on Amazon. So
Moondrop says RFM found that book in your mailbox, Rebecca.
I feel like that might be true because Ganesh promised me I would get the very first one. So I do not know how you are holding one and I'm not. I'm going to have to talk to him.
Well, the interior, the inside of the mailbox doesn't actually belong to you.
Maybe. I don't know.
It
Maybe
really
Alice
belongs
took
to
it.
me,
I have no
but-
idea. Maybe that's what Alice took for her birthday. I have no
I've
idea.
always heard that belongs to the federal government, the space inside a mailbox. Anybody else ever heard that?
Oh, that you can't put certain things in it or you can't only
That's why you
mail.
can't. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
inviolate.
heard that.
You cannot be putting love notes in a mailbox. Otherwise, the federales may pull up.
I feel like a lot of times wards break that rule by putting hearts on mailboxes and things like that, you know, when they're giving
I
people
think
a
the
heart
outside's
attack.
okay. The outside's
outside
fair
is okay.
game. It's that inside space
Well,
that's sacred.
You know that our friend Lila received a Book of Mormon inside of her mailbox with a handwritten testimony.
No, I didn't. Was it
Yeah.
signed?
It wasn't signed.
It
And
wasn't
we all kind of
signed?
looked at it. No, you know,
Yeah, 'cause that's as good as
she
a
posted a
confession.
picture of the note. We were trying to figure out, is it a child? Is it an older person? And it was just, you know, it was inside the mailbox. I think that she re-gifted it to a neighbor down the street.
Well, it's certainly possible. But of course, the reason why is because they want to make sure that anybody who uses their space, you have to put up the post, and you got to put the mailbox, and you got to buy the mailbox, and you got to hit your thumb 100 times trying to get those damn nails into it. You have to bear all that expense, but the space inside is there so that they can make sure that they get their cut anytime anybody wants to put something inside of it.
I did not know that.
Well, stamps, postage is what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, which is
That's what they're
69
interested in.
cents. It's ridiculous. So, well, awesome. All right.
And
I'm going to
there was
go.
this thing I read in high school. Maybe I shouldn't say this now. I'm not encouraging anybody to do this, but when I was in high school, I somehow got a hold of the Anarchist Cookbook. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, I read a few things. I never did anything that was in these, okay, because they struck me as really, really bad. And I was, I wasn't into that scene, man. But they had said something about if you took a postcard, right? What was it? Now, hang on a second here. If you took a postcard, there's something about taking it and slapping it on a brick, right? And sending it, I don't know, because they wouldn't send it, right, unless there's postage, but it had something to do with screwing somebody on the postage. It's been too long, I can't remember.
You can mail a coconut.
They were saying you could mail anything, including a toilet seat.
Yeah.
If you
you used to mail children. Like in the early 1900s, you could put a child in the post.
Wow. When
Yeah.
did that stop?
Like a
Dang
week
it.
ago, maybe. I don't know.
I wish I'd
It was a
known.
long time ago.
So,
sweet,
yeah.
I think,
But maybe the trick is that you put it on with no postage on it, but you put like a return address on the other side of the country or
So
something.
they had to pay for it.
yeah, you put where you would put your address, you put the person you want to send it to.
Mhm.
Now they decide they can't send it. They got to return it to sender. They return it to the place you actually wanted it to go. Voila, you win. Rebecca, you're getting ready to leave, but I want you to stay for just a second.
Oh, I will. I didn't want to overstay my welcome. And, I have to have cupcake.
You
from
could
Alice,
not
the ugliest
overstay
latte.
your welcome. As Thoreau said, Rebecca Biblioteca, like nature, we can never grow tired of.
Will
Oh,
you
that's
both
so
hold your
beautiful.
books up again? I want to just mention
We can never have enough of.
the image of Joseph Smith is the same
Yeah.
portraits, that portrait done in Nauvoo,
Oh.
and there are certain things that guy wasn't good about, but the real picture of Joseph Smith, this one here,
Mhm.
you don't see this much. And people, even as it's been revealed in, again, I know there's discussion out there in the blogger knackle, but among experts, including things from the church a little bit of a distance away, though, is an acknowledgement that this is, in fact, Joseph Smith. This is him. But there's so much debate out there, and there's a whole crowd of people who do not want this to be Joseph Smith. So they come up with maybe it's Hiram, maybe it's someone else. But you don't see this image. And I think part of that is because if you show this image, you're turning people off. There's a certain segment of your audience who goes, nope, that's not my prophet. And they don't even recognize, an average Mormon still would not even recognize this photo because they haven't had to really deal with it in their face yet.
Well, it's not like Russell Nelson's a looker.
Here's my theory. I think that even if they confirmed it
No.
200% that it was Joseph Smith, they would never show a real picture. Because right now, what do we have? We have these godlike paintings. We have Ken doll Joseph, you know, the blue eyes, the wavy hair. He's a painting. He's a mythical creature. If you see a real man, then you start thinking about the real man and what he really did. And you start thinking about young girls, and you're like, he's just a guy. Look at him and look at the things we know. They have to keep him on this pedestal. So I don't think they will ever show him as an actual person. He has to be otherworldly.
He's not
William
just a guy. He's a hebephile too. But go ahead. Yes.
William Charles says he looks like Ted Danson, and I think that's
A little
true.
bit.
Reminds me of the song that Joseph's Peepstone would sing from time to time. He would sing, "Sometimes you want to glow where everybody knows your name."
Everybody knows.
But I personally, and we should take a poll of everybody watching. I think this is Joseph. I mean, I've looked at provenance. I think that it absolutely is. I don't think the church will ever say that it is. They'll never update the manuals. They're just not going to, but I think it is. And I think it's very early on when this came out, I blew it up. I put it next to the Scanlon picture, and I'm like, it's the same guy. I mean, with my untrained eye, but I looked at all the different features and I said, it's the same guy, just years apart. So that was I mean, I even like zoomed in on the eyes. The hairline especially is something that told me, you know, and the ears, there are certain features that I thought it was the same person.
Is that a hairline crack? Did you just make a hairline crack?
No, his hairline is kind of unique. He has kind of a, you know,
What?
I don't know. He just has a certain way that his hair grows. It kind of has a cowlick, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm
that
kind of
was all.
sensitive about hairlines.
Oh God. Yeah. Who isn't?
I just created a survey. So is that a real photo of Joseph Smith? Leave your comments here in the chat, but then please, after you leave your comment, because we'd like to get kind of a running total here without having to go look at it, but leave your comments here in the chat. Is that a real photo of Joseph Smith, or is that someone else? And then go into the survey and click it. And so that way we can kind of follow this over the course of a week and see what percentage of you think it is Joseph Smith and what percentage of you do not. I'm in the camp that it is. Like you, I've listened to the people who would know these kinds of things. I've compared it. I also understand that the image we use, the one on the front of the book of the two of you both held up, that Joseph Smith, the artist for that, is known for doing longer noses than he should do, for doing chins different that are consistent across his artwork than what people actually look like.
And I think Emma said this does not look like him, or somebody said it does not.
I think Emma said, "I wish this looked like him."
Yeah, really. This is who he is to all of us. This is who Joseph Smith, just like blonde Thor, like Jesus is who Jesus is to us, because that is the picture that we are presented with. And that's
It's an arresting picture. That one is.
Exactly. So, but I spent a long time when this came out looking at this picture, and I just was kind of staring at him going, there you are. Huh.
Yeah. There you
I
are.
mean, I really did. I really just looked at it. It's like, there you are.
You can see it, can't you?
Yeah, I could see it. I really could.
I'll say for me, the lips are hiding. There's a man there who's presenting different than he is. And it's the lips. He's hiding the little creases in it, but you know, across the side of his lips too, the little marks that I've got kind of, but those combined with the way his mouth is, there's a hidden smile there.
Yeah.
An
inside joke, I think. And of course, you guys know that he spoke with a lisp, which is interesting.
A whistle, perhaps?
A lisp, because of, you know, some of the violent, you know, the tar and feathering, whatever, apparently. So, and some people say that when the quote, quote, transfiguration occurred, it really was just Brigham Young speaking like Joseph Smith, which would not be hard to do. You could.
So he was like imitating President Nelson.
Yeah, you could interject the little whistle and the little lisp, and people would say, "I hear Joseph," even when they're not even in the same county.
You know how these rumors get started. You don't want President Nelson being claimed to be the transfigured Joseph Smith. I mean, that's where this is going. RFM.
Yeah, I'll believe, just the reaction. I know you were talking before about the new polygamy revelation. Just the reaction to that, I'll believe anything now. So, I mean, it's just, it's over
Those
the top.
eyes
Have you
of
been
that man
tracking
have
the apologists and their different things that they've been saying? I've been tracking it for the newscast.
the eyes of that man have seen into the heavens, I tell you. They have
No.
seen God
No.
and Jesus. They have seen all the holy angels.
Nope. No, the eyes actually to me are the ones what were the most calculating to me.
And they've
When
seen
I looked at
incredibly
him,
naked
I'm
young
like,
ladies.
those are some calculating eyes. Honestly, those are some shrewd eyes that know how to work some cons.
These
That's-
eyes have seen a lot of things.
Yep.
This guy's capable of doing the things that Joseph Smith
Yep.
is alleged to do.
That's
You
it.
judge a book by its cover? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's
No,
Joseph.
I don't know. I think you can get a sense. I have a sense of people. And when I saw that, I literally said out loud, "There you are," because I just knew it. I did.
Well, it's hard
I
to
have a
argue with that.
testimony of it. Yeah. The hair on my arm stood up.
Somebody said he looks like Jeffrey Epstein. He does kind of have that facial
Yes.
look. He's got that elongated kind of, it's a Jeffrey Epstein kind of look.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There he is. There's your prophet, ladies and gentlemen. Praise to the man who communed with Jehovah.
But
Look,
if we
you
do
commune with
think
Jehovah,
that-
it doesn't matter what he looks like.
But if we do think this is him, then
Was
we
not-
can
was
go
not-
back to the other painting, the other pictures that we have, like the Scanlon, and we can go, oh my God, that also is him. You can kind of check other pictures that were questioned and say, look, there's,
Did not
there's
Isaiah
continuity.
prophesy in chapter 53 that the Savior would have no form of comeliness, that we should desire him?
Yeah, exactly. He was not an attractive person, and he ran around in his underwear.
And that's exactly what Isaiah was talking about.
That's exactly it. No, if you read Reza Aslan,
Isaiah
Zealot,
knew no form or comeliness about him.
Yep, that's it. And as far as what he wore, according to the book Zealot, people wore an outer garment and an inner garment, like an underwear and then an outer garment. Jesus was unique because he ran around in his undergarment. That's why he stood out.
Wait a second. Now, where are you getting this?
From Zealot, Reza Aslan.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
He ran around in his underwear.
People wear an outer garment and an undergarment. And according to this book, which we read in the Good Book Club, he did not wear the outer garment.
So Jesus was the original streaker.
Reza Aslan is
it's a controversial book. I know.
It is, but he's a very well-known person in those circles.
Mhm.
And he is Islam by birth, but his studies have been in Christianity and Judaism. And he has done a lot of great work in biblical studies, similar to Bart Ehrman.
Okay. All I'm saying is I've never heard of this before.
Well, you're hearing it
And
now.
I,
for the
and
first
I know
time.
the New Testament pretty well, and I'm not aware of anything in it that would give rise to that idea or anything in the Apocrypha. I'm aware that Isaiah, for a period of time, apparently went around starkers, but I don't know anything about Jesus going around in his undies.
Well, I mean, it's an undergarment. There's an overgarment. I don't know if it's technically underwear by the way that we understand it today.
Well, apparently it was controversial enough that it drew attention.
Yeah, but definitely, nothing that man would desire him, And I think I've told the story before when this composite drawing came out, and I took it to my mom in her 80s, and I said, "Look, here's Jesus," and she threw her skirt over her head. She goes, "That's not my Jesus," because her Jesus is Thor Jesus, right?
Yes.
Blonde, flowing hair, perfect smile, piercing blue eyes. That's her Jesus, not this guy. This is the guy that makes you throw your skirt over your head.
My Thor is blonde Jesus.
So far, our survey is 73% of people say yes, 27% say no. And I'll just say this about the picture on the screen. Whatever Jesus looked like, he didn't look like Jesus of the Western world.
Correct.
If this was the Jesus that was passed on to the European countries, if this was the Jesus that was passed into American religion, probably wouldn't be quite the numbers we have today. People really do need somewhere in their head, they need their beautiful Jesus. He helps sell the tickets.
Yeah, he does. And I think, was it in Farms? I can't remember, but my mom told me, oh yes, there was a line of, people in the Middle East who were tall, blonde, blue-eyed. They were there, and Jesus was descended from them. So you have to make it real no matter what it takes.
Yeah, because you need your Jesus to be the one. To me, to each of you, does it really matter if Jesus is real? If he really did rise on the third day, and if there really was sufficient evidence that your brain was taken that direction, it shouldn't matter, should it? Shouldn't matter if it's this guy right here. He died for you. He gave his life for you so that your sins could be washed away. Does it matter what his eye color is, or whether he has a beard, or what skin color he has? I could care less.
I want him to look like me.
Yeah.
I want everyone to look like me.
That's what.
But here's the thing, okay?
I want him to look.
Here's the thing: is that there was one group of Christians early on, first century. They ended up getting kind of stamped out, and I'm forgetting what the name is. It's Greek for seams. Seams, Madam Nitis. I know not seams, but seams. And I forget the name, and I apologize. I was looking it up, and it wasn't coming up. Somebody in the live chat will correct me, but they believed that Jesus could appear in different ways to different people. And I think there's a series in the Acts of John where that very thing happens. And Jesus is walking along with the disciples, and maybe he leaves, and then they compare notes. And one saw him as a young boy, one is an old man, one is a middle-aged Jesus.
One is a deer.
There weren't any deer in the Acts of John that I recall. There are some bed bugs, and that's a famous story. But I don't recall the deer. Maybe they got lone shifted. The deer got lone shifted into bed bugs. That's what happened.
Debbie, you're hilarious. He ran around in his underwear for each of you. He did that for you.
When you're busy with your Father's works, you don't have time to necessarily dress. There are higher priorities. It's an interesting book, Zealot, if you guys want to read. It's very controversial, but it is absolutely fascinating.
Zealot is the book that had me losing my testimony of Jesus before I lost my testimony of Mormonism. Zealot by Reza Aslan. Phenomenal book. And I had read some Bart Ehrman, and it just never grabbed me the way Reza tells the story in a good narrator fashion. And he really accomplishes some of the things that John Shelby Spong had done, and even a little bit of like Sapiens kind of stuff. But Zealot is just a phenomenal book, and so folks should check it out.
Is there anyone on the phone line, Bill? I hesitate to ask only because there's like 18 minutes, 17 minutes left.
I better duck out and go have cupcakes.
You're in here for the long haul.
You want me to be on the phone,
Rebecca?
If you need to step out,
I don't need to step out. I'm just trying to graciously give you a way to bump me off the show.
We are keeping you.
When we want to bump you off the show, Bill will accidentally drop you.
Oh, I see how it goes, or mute me or something. I get it. Okay, that's fair.
I do that once or twice accidentally, and it becomes a story that RFM tells. Can you believe he would do that?
I know. Well, you fuck one goat, and you're a goat fucker the rest of your life.
That's right. Here is, I believe, Ryan. Ryan, are you there?
I am.
Hello, how are you?
How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Good, how are you?
Good.
Well, I just had two questions. I'm the Ryan you guys know, so I'm the one who alerted you to that Jaden Schaefer guy. So I wondered if you guys had any updates on that.
Yes. So you're talking about
podcast.
Yep. You're talking about
share.
Yep. So the fake podcast on Spotify and Apple.
Right.
Yep.
And I have one too. I found out. Same thing.
Yep. There's a Mormon Stories. There's a Mormon-ish. There's a Mormon Discussion, and there's a Radio Free Mormon. And they're not legit. They almost seem like they're AI generated in its entirety.
Yep.
And I've reached out to Apple and Spotify. Like any good company should, they require some things to do something about that. And we're going through the process of resolving their questions. And I will give an update as soon as something changes in regards to that. But Apple and Spotify have both been notified. They're both aware of the issue. And now it's a matter of demonstrating that you wanting that removed for legitimate reasons, just proving the legitimacy of that claim.
Got it. Good. Well, thanks for the update. I had a main point that I wanted to make that wasn't that, and it's political, but it's not political. And the observation that I've made the past couple of days, Senator Mike Lee from Utah is on a tear on Twitter about selling off these federal lands. And whichever side you fall on that, I've got to wonder if the LDS Church isn't really behind wanting to buy up a lot of land. We know that they're a big land speculator. They own a lot of wilderness area. They own a lot of farmland. They own hunting preserves that cost you $150,000 to shoot an elk on, and all kinds of things. I've got to wonder, because he will not back down in the face of a lot of criticism right now. And I'm a conservative guy. I voted for Mike Lee, so I'm not going to be popular with half of the viewership. But it's crazy the amount of flack he's taking on Twitter right now, and how hard he's pushing for them to sell off all these federal wilderness areas that we all have enjoyed our entire lives. And I got to wonder if the church wanting to buy up a lot of land is not behind that.
Time will tell, I think, because the current administration is, in order to sort of solve a housing market issue, has mentioned several times part of the solution is to sort of on a federal level open up land. And if Utah does that on their own.
Yeah, and that's the excuse, but they're talking about like these wilderness areas that you're not going to build houses on unless you're, building cabins.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Time
just
will
an
tell.
observation, just a strange question, because a lot of people have gone after him for being a part of BlackRock or China or all kinds of things, but it seems a lot closer to home to say, hey, there's somebody else that invests in, one of the top 5 landowners in the United States right here at home.
Yeah. Why do we need to posit a country overseas when it can be much more rationally explained as the church that he gives preference to?
Yeah, just something I want to throw out there. I appreciate all you guys do. I rarely listen live. I usually catch this a day later. So
You will be blessed.
All right. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye. All right. And the other call here, hello, Gaming Dude, calling in about Taylor's letter. Gaming Dude, how are you?
Oh, John Taylor.
Hello, yeah, Guy McDude, actually.
Guy McDude. That's a lot better than Gaming Dude.
That's great. Guy McDude, how are you doing?
Doing well. So, calling in for a couple of things. First, just want to let everybody know that I'm also in my undies like Jesus. So, just kind of in solidarity, thought I'd call
Thanks
in.
for the mental picture.
Jesus.
Now we know.
Want to tell us what you're doing?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm actually just sitting here and enjoying the show, but I had a question for y'all. And this, I'm hoping that our faithful viewer is still in the chat, because I goaded him to call in, but then figured I'd call in myself with a question as it relates to.
I know. Hope are you going to pay $5 since you called in instead of Jackson?
We'll see if he calls in after I do.
No. Okay.
Line.
I'm
No
sorry.
pressure,
There was something going on in the live chat. Action Jackson Washburn had made an appearance, and there was some discussion. I think you were part of that, Guy, about his calling in, and you pay him $5 if he called in, and he hasn't called in. But you had said, I had asked if you would pay $5 just for you calling in. I think he hung up on me.
Yeah,
right?
I'll do it.
Okay, great. Okay, so go ahead. Now, what were you saying?
Okay. But yeah, just back to my question as it relates to the John Taylor revelation, something that I haven't heard a whole lot about, and what triggered it in my mind was Bill discussing how the church just tends to sweep awkward news under the rug. On the other side of that, there's victims when they hide that, and my thought on it is the victims are the victims of these LDS the children that are
You're
claim
breaking
to
up
have
a
the
bunch. Can
authority,
you say
claim
that
to have
over
the
again?
keys.
Hey, caller.
The guy may be another victim.
Can you say that over again? You're breaking up
Directed
a
by God.
bunch. Man, I don't think you can hear me. Hey, hello, Guy. You're breaking up a bunch. Can you start that whole comment over? Sorry.
Paul. Can okay. I was just I'll say it a little bit slower. Hopefully, it will get across. I'm just thinking when the
We're not getting any. We're not getting any of that. We're not getting any of that.
I think I got kind of what he was saying, and it was regarding just the fact that there's been no mention of, the revelation, brushing things under the carpet.
Yeah.
And I would answer that by saying, if you look at what the apologists instantly are saying, like instantly, I posted about it, and boy, they were all there. Number one, of course, it is, not canonized, not presented to the body of the church. Also, new and everlasting covenant does not mean polygamy, right? Those are the three big reasons that we don't even have to pay any attention to it at all. And while they probably will never address it because of those reasons, according to apologists.
I think that was a great cover, Rebecca. I think you hit the.
I didn't
the
try
main
to cut
point.
him off. I was just saying I heard that one
No, I
part of his
know.
question, so I was going to talk about that, and then he
I
can
know,
go
but
on.
I think you sussed out what it was that he was trying to get at and responded to it.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I did have to drop the call, Guy McDude. It was just the reception. I think maybe you were on a cell phone and you were away from kind of your home service or whatever. So apologize, but I had to drop you.
Hope he's not too far away from home if he's just in his undies.
Isn't it infuriating that they say the new and everlasting covenant does not mean polygamy? I can't tell you how many times I've had someone say that to me or write that to me. It's just,
Guy McDude, he's probably going through a McDonald's drive-through right now.
Don't you think, Rebecca, that as soon as the church changes on something, they give themselves permission to operate as if they can talk about it the way it is in the present, and they can convey to the audience that it reflects all of consistency of that doctrine across time, but they're just withholding the fact of telling the member, like, it used to mean this other thing, and now it means this, but because now it means this is what it means.
Yeah, no, they're notorious for never saying anything. They let all of us fight it out in the trenches, right? They let everybody get everything in. They don't have to say a single thing. They're the ultimate non-weigher inners. And then it just kind of is water under the bridge. And everyone just moves on. Look at Aaron Sherinian. That's a huge example of that, right? Over a year and a half. It was such a big deal. No one said anything. No one did anything.
Nope.
It's just gone. There are so many examples of that. And I think by not weighing in, they're letting everyone know this is inconsequential. We release hundreds of documents a week. This is one of those. This means nothing. Don't get a bee in your bonnet over it, right?
Well, it was a week ago tomorrow that it was dropped. Has it been picked up yet? You sent it into the Tribune.
Oh yeah, the Tribune had a guest piece by Benjamin Park that was really well done. Now I have been watching the Deseret News because that's where it's important. And there has not been a peep so far that I have found there. There have been several articles about Mike Lee, more positive leaning things, about the federal lands and things like that. Maybe perhaps damage control, but there's been nothing about the revelation. So.
By the way, the Deseret News being the church-owned newspaper.
Exactly. Well, they own the Trib too, but they let the Trib, kind of do what it will. Everybody needs a good guy and a bad guy to make us think, that there's some wiggle room and that we're making some kind of a difference. But yeah, Benjamin Park, excellent piece in the Tribune. If you want to check that out.
Doesn't the Tribune, though, let's be honest, doesn't the Tribune stop shy of being the objective, unbiased, let's just tell the truth newspaper? They also have to cave in to some things when it comes to the church and how they cover it.
Yep.
And
There are
that's
some things that
strange.
I'm so sorry, Bill.
That's okay. I'm just saying that's strange.
There are some things that they have done that I have thought that's not journalism.
But
That's
then
just
sometimes they'll come out
toadyism.
with something and you're like, wow, good for you. When you have to think good for you, that means you're starting from a base of, it can be biased. So sometimes I have seen things like on temple building, right? I send them all the time, everything that's happening with the temple, and every once in a while they will come out with something that I'm like, that was good. That really told it the way it was. So, but it's all we've got, right? It's all we have. We have the Trib. So
They also have to distort the truth and obfuscate the information because they can't exactly be objective. It's such a they're the outside the church paper.
Mhm. And the church needs both so that we feel like, oh yeah, we've got a voice over here. Do we? It's like the movie Snowpiercer. I don't know if anyone saw that, but in the end, they were just going, you be the bad guy, I'll be the good guy. It'll keep people busy.
With Jennifer
what I mean?
Connelly?
Yeah.
No, I never saw it.
It was a very, dystopian, really interesting movie. But at the very end of it, good guys, bad guys, they were all on the same team. They were just deciding who would play what part to keep the masses busy and
I
distracted.
hate all these dystopian movies. It reminds me too much of my life.
Yeah.
There's this
yeah.
moment.
There it is.
There's this moment, you guys will remember this, where when Oakes and Nelson and Eyring, who joins them, they're the first presidency for the first time. Early on, there's one of these conversations where they orchestrate the interview. Peggy Fletcher walks forward to ask her question.
Oh my gosh.
And it's the moment where, the President Nelson says, Peggy, you come from such a great family, and there's this game being played. But my point being is that you can look over to the left and you can see Elder Oaks there, and he is lip syncing exactly what President Nelson is saying. In other words, it's all orchestrated, or someone is feeding President Nelson what to say, and they're feeding President Oaks what to say, right? Mm-hmm. They're all three listening in their ears to the question and how the church wants them to respond to the question. In other words, they're the puppets. And they don't even know it, but they're the puppets. They think they're in charge, but they're really not.
I thought that was so funny. It looked like Pee Wee Herman at the front desk of the hotel in the movie inside the movie at the end.
Where is anybody in the Tribune covering something like that? Where does anybody go, hey, how, LDS Church, how does Elder Oaks know to say your answer exactly at the exact same time you're saying it?
That should have at least been its own story.
Yes.
Guy McDude says, for a better phone connection and plus Jason's half.
Well, sorry, RFM. My bad.
Comment was regarding the victims of the hidden revelation, the children brides who are coerced to marry the so-called polygamous leaders with the keys. Okay, so those are the victims, because the polygamous people are got to be thrilled. I wasn't speaking totally with tongue in cheek on Monday when I said it's going to be a hot time in Colorado City tonight, because these people have just been vindicated and justified, and they knew the church was lying to them this whole time, and now they finally found out, yes, of course, the church was lying to them. All these copies did come from an original written by John Taylor. And as Guy McDude says, though, the guys, as well as the men, as well as the women, are thrilled about this. At least that's how they're presenting. And who are the victims then? The kids. Because this is going to jumpstart the polygamy devotion, I think, like few things could.
Did you catch Stephen Pineker's episode with the three women, including Jasmine? Maybe you already touched on that at the beginning.
No, I did not. We have not.
I watched most of it. Yeah. One of them was a polygamist, had been a mainstream Mormon, and another woman kind of entered their circle of friendship, and she was the one that said, well, are you going to marry her? To her, it was a beautiful thing that is something that we're all supposed to do. Jasmine had an interesting take on it. She talked about, she's married to Don Bradley. And
Oh, the other Jasmine.
Yeah. Don Bradley's wife. Yeah. Okay. There's so many Jasmines. And, she said, well, he is still sealed to his first wife. And, they have a son together who was killed very tragically just a few months ago. Yes. And she talked about knowing that she is in a sealing group with the first wife. That sealing was not broken. Don's second wife, apparently, there is no sealing there anymore. But she talked about being...
This is Don's third wife?
Yes.
Okay, yes. I don't feel so bad now. Thanks, Don.
Yeah. He's catching up, RFM. What are you going to do?
Number 3. Now you're making me feel smart now, Don.
But anyway, just the concept that, she knows that she's in this family bonding, sealing relationship, and it's beautiful. In her mind, it's beautiful. And so, she said, I'm not practicing polygamy right now, but she definitely saw the beauty of the, and you see things like this where a wife will stand in for a sealing for a wife that's passed away. You see this sense of community that people have, and so maybe that's the beautiful part of it, if you think about it being up here. But like the caller said, no, when you think about the teenage brides and you think about what licenses it's going to give people now, that's where everybody should be really afraid.
Entertain me for just a second. I know I've said a lot of tonight, but no, I don't, not like that.
Okay.
We all can't understand when the church has a kid go behind a closed door with a stranger man who asks law of chastity questions and can ask more if he wants to 7-year-olds. We all go like, we don't get it. Like, why wouldn't you just make a few changes and just completely protect kids? But I had this like light bulb moment, and it's, maybe you've thought this before, but if you go back, this church was founded by somebody who didn't protect children. Then it was managed by person after person after person after person who didn't protect children and often took advantage of them. They determined who their predecessors were. They picked the next guys. It's a church that has a progeny, that's not the wrong word, a line of descendants who were handpicked, and who from generation to generation from the beginning don't protect children and often make it overly safe to abuse them. Might there be something connected between the beginning and the present when you have a leadership that picks the kinds of people it is to keep the thing going, and they're people that you have a very deep loyalty with? I don't know. There's certain times behind the scenes where people are just unhealthy, and if they're left to keep their system going, they'll just pick other unhealthy people, and often unhealthy in the same ways.
Well, I think
will
it's
have blood, they
in.
say. I'm sorry, Rebecca.
I was going to say it's baked in. I made a post the other day. I came across a man had been rebaptized, and he was a perpetrator of CSA. He had been in prison, and he was rebaptized, and somebody, had blurred out the names very well, not the way I do it. But it said, "I can't believe this abuser has been let back in." This man's wife was thrilled. "My husband is back in the church. He'd been in prison for abusing their daughter." Okay. So this man is let back into the church by all the protocols that stand in the church today. Somebody like, I don't know, September 6th, Lavinia, not let back into the church, until after death. That just shows you where the priorities are. They do not understand, or maybe they do, which is even more terrifying.
That's quite the contrast you just drew.
It's a huge contrast, but I thought that was important. They let this guy back in. He was in prison for, I think it was 14 years, and they rebaptized him. And September 6th, who just dared to say, "Yeah, I don't know, I think men might have a lot of power in the church. Let's look at that." And she attended church faithfully her entire life, and her bishop and stake president asked that she be rebaptized. And the first presidency themselves said, "Nope, you got to die first. Then we'll do it for you."
What does the church do to the people who call out the abuse?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Isn't that interesting? But not the abuser, not ever the abuser, like the letter that we read on the newscast, never the abuser.
And to tie that off, I think that what you got excommunicated for was writing that article that was documenting instances of church abuse.
That's right. She was the abuse. That's right. You're right.
So that's perfect, Bill.
Yep.
That if you call out the abuse, you get treated in her way where she's not allowed to come back in. But if you are the abuser, although she's talking about ecclesiastical abuse, he's even worse than that. The child abuser, well, he gets out of prison and he can get rebaptized.
Yeah. And it's a happy day for everyone. A blessing to the ward. Isn't that the letter we read on the newscast? He's a blessing to the ward. Yeah.
The system.
So it's systemic.
Wow.
Yeah, the system, right, Rebecca? The system from the very top echelons on down is a system that protects abuse, protects spaces where abuse can happen. It has safeguards in place to get rid of the people who report the abuse, and it has ways in which the people who are the abusers get to be celebrated and let back in. Yeah.
I've got to tell you, I'm stunned. This contrast is so stark. It is
Yeah, it's a
so
great
bad.
post. You should look at it. I got banned from Mormon Stories podcast Facebook page where I tried to post it, but I've posted it at other places. So I can message it to you if you want to put it up. It's a really good post. It shows the guy, look, my husband got let back in. And then it shows for September 6th. It's terrible.
This church really has issues.
It's gross. Why would you put a kid into a room with a neighbor man that doesn't really have any real relationship with that child? Why? That's gross. The system would prefer to stay the way it is. It doesn't want to do the ungross thing. It doesn't want to fix it. It excommunicates the person who points it out, Sam Young. Sam Young is the salt of the earth. I've been around Sam numerous times. He is a good human being who tries his best to be kind to others. And all he did was raise his hand and go, this isn't safe for children. Please change it. Please change it. And they got rid of him. And then they made a move that looked like his move, but it wasn't his move. And it still is unsafe for children.
Yeah, it's funny because I saw a post where a dad had gone in with his daughter to a worthiness baptism interview. So you're right. That happens when you could be 7 because you could be just about to turn 8, or you could be 8. And the post mentioned that the bishop went right ahead with all the questions, grilling her on, tithing and worthiness and Joseph Smith and chastity, 7-year-old, a 7-year-old who believes in Santa Claus, at least the dad was in there. But I can't believe, I think my point is the bishop still has the nerve to do that. I mean, he doesn't look at there with another adult in the room and go, okay, this is weird. I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of bishops do that. I've talked about my relative before who very early on, way before Sam Young, said, I'm a bishop, but I'm leaving the door open for everybody. I'm not closing that door. I'm covering myself.
You have a grain of sense of self-preservation. Of course you will.
Exactly. Yep. And then he ended up stepping away halfway through his term. But yeah, just the idea that you'd close the door and do that in the 21st century
for everybody.
Yeah.
So it's not like, who loses? That's what I don't get. Who loses? I guess the church as an institution is being forced to move by an outside force when they are waiting until enough time has gone by that they think they can do it without everybody knowing that this is why.
They didn't fix it, though. In the case of Sam Young, they didn't fix it. They made a move that appeased people that looked like a fix, but it's not real. The vulnerable kids still don't have anybody to request on their behalf that a second adult be in the room.
Yeah, the kid has to request it.
And they still don't know. They still don't really know.
Or the parent, but some parents don't. They're so loyal to the church that they extend the trust that the church has taught them to extend.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It would be seen as a breach, a lack of faith, a breach of etiquette to ask a bishop to be in there while he's talking with your kids about what he does with his diddly.
You're already admitting you're a progressive Mormon, that you're a nuanced Mormon, that you're a neo-Mormon. You're already telling people that you're thinking about things. Yes, you already show your cards, RFM. You already become a lazy learner of sorts.
Well, child sacrifice is back in style.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's a hard thing to realize.
We're sacrificing our children to the bishops.
Yeah.
No, it's true. And beyond that, like I remember the moment when I was a teenager and I've talked about how upset I was about polygamy before. My family was really into it. They were not polygamous, but we celebrated our heritage. And, it was part of, we all knew that was where everything was headed. And I realized, if I lived back in that day, my dad, who was a wonderful, kind and loving person, but he would have handed me over to an older bishop, an older man in a heartbeat if he was told to do that, just because that's how church broke he was, And in fact, I have a terrible story in my family. It was my grandma's grandma who, she was 15. She had a friendship with a Gentile boy in town. This is in Utah. And the parents rushed her to the bishop. What do we do? What do we do? Our daughter's being friends with a Gentile. What do you think his answer was? Marry me. Marry me, the bishop. Yeah, you're 15.
Oh my gosh, that caught me off guard. You said marry me?
And be my 5th wife. And her parents said, great idea.
Oh,
and that's what
Lord.
happened. Yeah,
Who was
and
that?
that was
That was your grandmother?
That was my grandma's grandma. And that was a wonderful family story. And then one day I went on Family Search and I really understood the age difference, 16 and 54. And I showed it to my dad and he goes, oh, that can't be right. No, that's grandma. And then he kind of went, oh, that is right. You know, it did not register. It
You
did
ever wonder
not
why grandma
register.
lived so much longer than grandpa?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because she was freaking 40 years younger than he was. So I have to address something really quick in the chat. When I said I was banned from Mormon Stories podcast, that's not what I meant. I was banned by Facebook for something I accidentally posted there. It was an article in The Guardian about Christian men not understanding sex because of purity culture. It was a great article, very relevant to Mormonism. And I copied and I posted. What I didn't notice is that the artwork for the article was a couple full on having sex. It was a little bit of a watercolor, but
you didn't notice?
No, because I just copied and pasted. I didn't ever
I would have
see the
noticed.
cover art. Yeah, I'm just,
I like to think
I'm
I
not
would
like
have
you,
noticed.
RFM. I'm oblivious. Anyway, so I full on posted softcore porn on Mormon Stories Facebook page, and Facebook put me in a timeout until July 17th. I can't
No
post
wonder John Dehlin doesn't
anything
talk
on
to you
there
anymore.
for like 3 weeks. I know, and I post all the time. So I contacted John. I said, I don't know what happened, and he kind of looked into it and explained it. And he said, okay, I will approve, whatever it is that you want to post. But yeah, it was a total accident. It was this picture of this woman and this man, and it was kind of a watercolor, but it was pretty clear. So
Those are the kinds I like.
yeah, exactly. So no, Mormon Stories did not ban me. I just have to say that because I saw a few people in the chat saying that. Facebook did because I'm illicit.
Rebecca, before you go, can you tell our audience a story about what happened at dinner with your mom and dad and your fiance?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've told that so many
Was it a
times.
boyfriend?
Probably. No, it was my fiance. So I got engaged at BYU. And like I said, my family was, just very supportive and on board with polygamy. Talked about it all the time. Knew it was the new and everlasting covenant. So they drive from Washington State, where I was raised, to Provo to meet my fiance for the first time. And this is in 1990 or 91. Yeah, it would have been 91. And we go to Frontier Pies, if anybody remembers that. Really, really good pie and like home style food. So we're sitting there and my mom says, oh, it's your wedding. We're so excited. Rebecca, it's your marriage, your only marriage. And then she said to my fiance, and of course, this is only the first of your many marriages. And he's like,
your fiance, the guy.
The guy.
Your parents said to him.
Yeah.
This is the first of your many marriages?
Millions of wives. I will just have this one. And so he's like looking at me like, and I got really mad. I threw my corn muffin on the table because, like I said, polygamy was so triggering to me. And I ran into the bathroom and I'm just like, I knew the church wasn't real. I knew it wasn't true, but I knew everyone around me believed that. And I knew it was so unfair to women. And to have my mom say that. And then I was, of course, worried that my fiance would go, oh my God, what is it? But I explained, a little eccentricity there. But my parents kind of lived in the next life, if that makes sense. They were just very into what would happen in the next life. And that was it. We would all be in polygamous relationships. So
maybe your fiance was just thinking it was a right comment on his body odor.
It could have been. Yeah. The first of your many, like you're going to, no, it was pretty clear. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe a lot of older people have that perspective a little bit.
You must have talked about it, you and your fiance, afterward and said, what?
Oh, he knew. I described my family. He knew they were very eccentric, absolutely eccentric. So we kind of laughed about it. I laughed it off. I did not ever tell him this is really disturbing to me. I'm really upset about it. I just try to move on, put it past me. I do not want to think about it anymore.
So you're sort of like Marilyn on the Munsters.
Yeah, I was Marilyn. Exactly. That's a very good analogy. I don't know how, but I was. Yep.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that story with us, because I wanted, as long as you were on a roll, I wanted to get everything compromising I could.
Every single thing. That's right. I know you're taping this. Yeah, secretly.
Well, it's live, so it is taping.
I know, but on top of that, I think you're taping it secretly.
We are at 9:46, you two.
We are, and the time has flown by.
It's been night. Thanks for letting me come on. This has been great. It makes me really excited for our event on the 4th. And I did see someone in the chat saying, how do I do this? Help me. Is it just clicking on the link and then choosing the event? I mean, maybe there's any help we could.
No, so I'll just show I'll put this link in the live
It
chat.
sounded like the person had found the link, but then couldn't quite navigate it. So I haven't been on it, so I don't know.
Yeah, this link right here, events, again, donorbox.org/events/784033. If you post that into a URL box, hit enter, it should take you right to the event. And it does for me. I just did it.
Okay.
And so all you do is you've got at the bottom, it tells you how many tickets you want. So change that 0 to something, 1 ticket, 2 tickets, and then hit next, and then just follow the payment processor screens. And I know that people are able to do it because the other event, like I said, has sold 24 tickets so far. So that link is working for both of them. In fact, I see 1 ticket is sold now. So we do have one for the Mormon Newscast. And so that has happened. So it is working for people. And that link is in the live chat.
Is that barbecue sauce that you bring always, Rebecca?
Sauce.
Debbie Donovan is saying, I thought this was fun. Rebecca always brings the sauce.
I don't know. I'm more of a sweet and sour sauce kind of a person when I do get chicken nuggets. So.
Have we
Any
seen
kind
the
of sauce
sour
is good.
part of your personality yet? It seems sweet to the point of, I'll think of the word here, but answer the question.
Incredulity.
No. What is okay?
No,
What is the fake the fake sweetener?
Stevia.
No, and not aspartame. It's even before that. It's earlier. It's an older saying. It's not terribly old.
Aspartame.
Anyway,
I don't know. No, it's
Bill,
interesting.
Bill, are you coming up with it?
A substitute sugar product.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet and
Sweet-
low.
No, this is sort of the chemical.
Yeah, we've listed
Anyway,
everything. No, I will say though, when I first started podcasting,
Aspartame, she said.
everybody said that I was too nice. I couldn't possibly be a post-Mormon. I got that comment and message all the time.
thank you. There it is. Yeah.
Whatever that means.
I was saying sweet to the point of saccharine. That's what I was trying to say.
Saccharin.
I don't know if we've seen the sour side of you.
That one's not around anymore, right? That one caused cancer and they got rid of it.
No, that wasn't good.
You were
Oh, no,
using
I
saccharin bad.
I get spicy over some things. I get mad. Sometimes I look right at the camera on the newscast and I go, listen to me. Some things do.
The thing about saccharin is that unlike aspartame or these other sugar substitutes, this one is actually entered into the vernacular as a fake, sugary kind of person.
Right. Well, I don't think I'm fake. I mean,
should not have explained it. I'm sorry. No, I was speaking in jest.
I hope so.
I said what you've seen because I know that there's a sour side to you. I just haven't seen it yet.
It's probably about, the gospel topic essays. Watch
And
my
God-
episodes with the backyard professor. I was screaming at the camera. This
And
was
God knows
before
I've
he
done my
started
best
talking
to
about
bring it out in
UFOs.
you. And God
What?
knows I've done my best to bring it out in you.
That's right. No, backyard professor. This was before he started talking about UFOs. This is back when we used to cover gospel topics.
Oh yeah. So did it come out there sometimes? Your sour
Well,
side?
yeah, because the depending on what you mean by sour, but those gospel topic essays are infuriating. Every single one of them. And we were going through every one by one. We got through, I think, 8 of them. I think there are 8 episodes from about a year ago with BYP. Like I said, until he started, doing things about UFOs. So, yeah.
I have a vague recollection of walls of text.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, they were great. But yeah, the gospel topic essays, those do get me, irritated.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, RFM,
We still need to get out of here.
we do. Why don't you take us
Yeah.
home?
Thank you. Rebecca, thank you for joining us and seeing it through to the end. Bill, thank you for being here. Thank me for being here. Thank everybody out there for being here. It's a great Friday night. Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for sharing this part of it with us. And we will see you next Friday night, 8 o'clock p.m. on Mormonism After Dark.